Hello, everybody, and welcome to Pints and Quarts, a show presented by the Craft Beer Nation. Today is Thursday, April 21st, 2016, and tonight our guest is, and forgive me, I'm going to try my best, Ilan Klages-Mundt with Insight. All right, with the Insight Brewing Company out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Tonight, we're going to find out a little bit about these guys. They're relatively speaking kind of new, so we're going to bring it to you, let you find out who they are, where they're going, what their plans are. And while we're getting ready to do that stuff, get you a beer, put it in the glass, and also go to our social media platforms. You can go to our YouTube page, Craft Beer Nation. We're on Google Plus, of course. You can find us on Facebook. We're on Twitter at CBN Community. And of course, you can find us on Instagram at Craft Beer Nation. So get that beer in the glass, get comfortable, and sit back and join us. All right, so I'm flying solo tonight. I'm the only panelist here, should I say. Normally we have a few other people, but I'm flying solo for the moment with my one guest, Ilan. How are you doing, Ilan?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, man, the pleasure is ours. And I would be remiss not to start out the show paying homage to the one and only now late, great Prince, a musical legend, genius, icon out of your fair city of Minneapolis, Minnesota. How did the news hit you today when you found out about Prince?
Yeah, so as I'm at work and never browsing Facebook, you find out, and first of all, I tried to read the article to see, is this onion? Is this I've heard of people dying before on the internet, and then I saw that it was a few more places were talking about the same thing. So, yeah, definitely a shock.
Yeah, I think it wasn't just a shock for you. I think it was a shock for the world. I mean, a lot of people may not realize it right now, but we lost a giant. We lost a musical giant today, and I mean somebody who left an indelible impression on the music industry, and for the most part a lot of people's lives. So our thoughts and prayers go out to his family. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the people of Minnesota, because I know that Prince was royalty in Minnesota. He was a native son, and everybody there loved him. So thoughts and prayers out to Minnesota. So that said,
I'll put a glass up to that.
Yeah, cheers to Prince.
Cheers.
And we're joined by Gil Mello. Gil was able to sneak away and join us earlier tonight than he initially planned. So Ilan, tell us a little bit about yourself, man. How did you get into craft beer, or beer period, and then craft beer?
So it's kind of an interesting story. So I'll start at the beginning. I come from a musical background. I was not always in the brewing industry, as most people weren't. And the way it worked for me was, back in 2007, I was going to school for cello, and I had traveled to Denmark over the summer and was just learning about this thing called craft beer. I really didn't know a whole lot about it, but I took with me a list of the top 50 list in the world for beer, and ended up going to this great bottle shop that I probably walked into purely by accident, and asked them if they had number 7, which was the highest rated Danish beer from Mikkeller. They did not have it, but they did have number 1, which was the Westie 12, Westfleteren 12, from the St. Sixtus Monastery. I had never heard of it. So I'm like, how much? And they told me $72 a 6-pack. So I stepped back a little bit. I was in college at the time, and said, will you sell me 2 bottles? So they did, and I later realized that the beer is only supposed to be sold at the monastery, so technically I got them on the black market. So when I get home, I pop open a beer and taste it, and immediately the sun comes out, the birds start chirping. It's one of those moments where you have this huge epiphany. Exactly. I became an opera singer on the spot. So The experience was profound enough to where I tell people this actually changed my life. I wanted to learn everything about the world of beer, history, culture, techniques, everything. So I get back to the States, and I start reading textbooks. I start home brewing, joined a homebrew club, started talking to brewers. And my professors at the time saw the passion that I had, and they asked me to apply for a fellowship that was offered through IBM. And what they do is they pay for someone to travel around the world post-graduation studying their passion, whatever it is. I've heard of people traveling and winning this thing doing bird watching, goat herding, mostly cultural studies. So I wanted to go and learn about the world of beer. So I started contacting breweries, farms, and festivals. It took about a year and a half to actually get a hold of enough places where I could set up apprenticeships or time to go and work. So I wrote my essays, and I became a finalist of this fellowship, and then lost. And that was devastating for about an hour until I realized I was going to go anyways, with a lot less money. Yeah. So I called all the breweries and said, hey, can I come and work a little bit harder for a place to stay and a meal? And luckily they said yes. So I ended up leaving in 2010 with $3,400, no plane ticket home, and went to go and pick hops in South England. And after that I worked at the Fuller's Brewery in London. After that I went to the Kyuchi Brewery in Japan doing sake and beer. Then went back to Denmark at a brewery called Fainu. And I got hired on totally under the table as a head brewer in northern Denmark at a place called Sugards. And then I biked throughout Belgium and France afterwards, visiting breweries, wineries, festivals, sleeping in horse barns, whatever. And got back to the States, and there really is nothing else to do other than start a brewery. That's how we got going.
Wow. So, I mean, you
what a story, huh?
I'm telling you, man. I mean, it definitely wasn't somebody just, gifting you $1 million, and
it would have been easier.
Yeah, absolutely. But man, you took the hard road. But I mean, I'm willing to guess that all those experiences are obviously paying off into who you are today. As far as the ethic and all that stuff is concerned.
So, yeah,
and Fuller is not a bad place to work, right?
No, they're a really small brewery. Only a couple people have heard of them. I'm kidding. Yeah, Fuller's was, in fact, so I had a lot of, as I was reaching out to breweries in this year and a half of trying to put this thing together, most places wouldn't respond, and the ones that would say, thanks. So the first brewery that actually said, yeah, you can come and work with us was Fuller's. I'm like, shit, are you kidding me? So the next emails that I started sending out, I put Fuller's on there saying, hey, I'm going to go work at Fuller's. Can I also come work with you? And the next two lined up in the next two emails. So yeah, Fuller's has a pretty good name,
to say the least.
Yeah.
So you get back from abroad, and you have money saved up at this point, or?
Man, that would have been nice. I had just enough money to get back. I ended up getting a couple stipends, we'll call them, as I was traveling, and that was enough for me to buy my plane ticket home and bring my bike home. And I came back with about $91, which is a scary amount of money right now.
Wow.
So I had to figure out how to survive until I could figure out how to start a brewery, and that took a few years to get going.
Okay, well, so a brew kit is about $45, so you could get 2 kits,
That's true. That's true.
So how did the name Insight come about? You gain some valuable insight abroad?
Yeah. I mean that pretty much sums it up. But what happened is any brewer there's so much access to information right now in today's world. And I was no different. I got to read a lot of books. I got to read about English beers, Belgian beers, German beers. And before I left, I thought I knew everything there was to know about all of these beers. And surprise, you show up and then you realize, oh, that's how you make that beer. Here's the water profile you're using. Here's the yeast you're using. So what I learned, probably the most important thing that I learned was every place you go, keep your mind incredibly open, because you may actually not know how they make their beer there. And every region around the world makes beer slightly differently, and you actually do need to get there to find out how they're doing it. So part of what we do at Insight is we've incorporated my past travels into our business plan, and now I travel once or twice a year, continuing to go out to different countries and doing collaboration beers with different breweries. So we can always be bringing back new recipes, new ideas.
So that said, right now, what is your, well, I guess it's a twofold question. What is your flagship beer, and what do you think is your identity as a brewery? Is it hop forward? Is it sours? Is it malt forward? Is it stouts? Is it IPAs? What?
Well, what I'll do is I'll answer those in backwards order. Who we are as a brewery is we bring the world of beer back. That's what we do. So back in August, I was in England doing 2 collaborations with a brewery called Beard and another one called Elgoods. Elgoods is older than our country. And in actually next month, and just about a month now, my wife and I are going to Belgium and Italy. We're going to be doing a collaboration with a brewery in each country and always bringing something new back. So our goal is to always be kind of on the leading edge of world beer, and there may be some ingredients that we're going to use that are going to be a little bit different. But our goal is not crazy for the sake of crazy. It's figure out what the world's doing in beer, figure out all these great ingredients that are out there that I've never heard of before, and if I go there, hopefully I can find something at a farmer's market. And bring that back and figure out how to make beer with it. So we'll always be pushing limits on what can go into beer.
That's really cool, because that's something that you only see, like you see breweries do that, but they don't make that their central identity. For example, Dogfish Head, they do crazy things, but they only get crazy with a line of beers, right? Like they did the old ale series where they were brewing with crazy ingredients, chewing up corn and spitting it out and all that stuff. But it's kind of cool to see you guys, take that mantra and apply that to being your identity as a brewery as a whole. I think that's really cool.
And what makes it work? Go on, Gil.
No, I was just wondering, like, you can everything you make?
Right now, we can our year-round beers, and actually just as of yesterday, we canned our first seasonal, which was a double IPA. So for the size of brewery that we are, the minimum order on cans is still 155,000 cans. So if we are going to make a one-off beer or a seasonal, we just have to make sure that we can actually sell enough.
Okay. Do you have it seems like you have a thematic, like you have a theme on the design of your label? Is that something because of the Norwegian travel? Or
yeah. So
pros and stuff?
What we do with our branding is we got a little bit lucky here. In fact, there was a marketing agency that reached out to us before we opened, and they choose one company a year to work with pro bono, and they liked the story so much about travel that they wanted to actually take that to the next level and kind of put a theme to it. So what we do now is we have the travels around the world. We bring back different beers. But then we also bring back a local legend or a local bit of folklore, and that becomes our beer. So this would be an example of one of our cans. We're pretty minimalist in how we do it, but this would be kind of like the Sunken City of Atlantis with scrolls that are hiding secret beer recipes. So this beer is the one that I'm drinking, in fact, right now too. This is our Saison that's blended with Sauvignon Blanc wine grapes. So it's called Sunken City. And I had this idea as I was traveling in in France after Belgium. I drank a lot of Saisons in Belgium, and then in France I was on a vineyard, and I had this idea pop into my head. I wonder if you can add wine grapes to beer. Everyone adds fruit to beer. Wine grapes is a fruit. Let's try that. So I wanted to see if there was a way to blend Belgium and France together into one beer style. So that's where we came up with this, and we took a French legend. It wasn't Atlantis; it was called the City of Wise, but nonetheless, it's we'll embellish our stories perhaps a little bit.
You know, Ilan, now that you say that, I have had Sunken City.
You're kidding me.
I did I did a trade with a guy in Minnesota, and he sent me a can of Sunken City, and I was like, because I'm not a huge saison fan, and I was like, saison with Sauvignon Blanc grapes. That okay, I'll give it a try. I was trying to look it up on Untapped just now, and I think my comments were like, but it's not coming up for Untapped is acting stink right now. But I think I remember saying I'm not a huge fan of saisons, but I could drink a lot of this. So,
yeah, the problem is it's also 7.8%, so you could drink a lot of it, and you might fall asleep pretty quickly.
For Randy, 10% is a session beer.
So that's cool. When you held up that can, I was like, that's something. That sounds familiar. I've had one of your beers. Wow, that's crazy.
Nice.
Okay.
Well,
so
small world.
So you guys now that you said that, I went to your website and I see that you guys also have a pale ale that you brew with yuzu, the Garden of the Hell Chicken.
Yeah.
Is that your flagship beer?
So you're right. I didn't answer the second question.
Okay.
So we don't have a flagship. We purposely didn't start with one. We have different chapters of a story. So on the back of every can on the website, we have chapter numbers, and we're writing the story. We have a mythical brewmaster that travels around the world and might get into a little bit of trouble. So the Hell Chicken, so the local legend, because there's a fruit in Japan called the yuzu. It's a citrus fruit. Looks like a little lumpy lemon, and it tastes more like a mandarin orange and a grapefruit. So the real story is I had a tree in my backyard. I didn't know what it was. I asked about it and found out that it went into a lot of cuisine. But I had never heard about, or they had never heard about it in beer. But I tasted it and immediately knew it had to go in beer. So the legend goes that this, and again, this is a true legend from Japan, but a mythical brewmaster, either did or did not have to fend off a 50-foot ghost fire-breathing chicken in the mountains of Japan to get to its hoard of yuzu fruit. And that's up to you to decide if it's true or not. But we will write about it and we'll have a lot of fun.
He may or may not have fought a fire-breathing chicken or something like that.
But only China would have, only Japan would have somebody fighting a fire-breathing chicken.
Yeah, and they probably even have a mascot for it too.
So you guys have only been around for 18 months, right?
Yeah.
And the beer scene in Minneapolis, well, in Minnesota as a whole, is really growing. Have you guys had a hard time finding your niche within that amount of growth, or was it kind of seamless for you guys because people always like trying new things?
Well, the scene right now in Minnesota is one of the fastest growing in the country. We still have a ways to go to catch up to states like Colorado or Oregon or California, but we're growing very, very quickly. Right now, I think this year there's 53 breweries in planning. It's insane. So where we fit in, I think we got a little bit lucky with how things worked out. We weren't one of the first breweries in the area. We were kind of part of the second wave, and now we're into the third or fourth wave that seem to be kind of sweeping over the Twin Cities area. But we had I wouldn't necessarily call it foresight. That meant we knew what we were doing. But we started with a slightly larger building and a slightly larger brew house. So we run a 30-barrel brew house, and we started with a capacity on day one with about 5,000 barrels. And within 5 months, we had to expand to double that. So now we've got a capacity of about 11,000 barrels. And we're now looking at off-site storage somewhere else because in the relatively near future we're going to be doubling our capacity again to about 20,000 barrels. So it's incredible growth, and I think one of the ways that we're able to stand out to other breweries, and there's a lot of great breweries in Minnesota, but we're able to stand out a little bit because we chose to spend a little bit more money to travel abroad and keep finding new ideas and new recipes. So it's a really fun thing to go and and work with and learn from breweries around the world who are doing different things and doing a lot of great things, and then bring back more experience.
Do you guys have a targeted output plan for 2016?
Yep, 1 million barrels. No, 2016 right now we're probably going to end up somewhere around 7,000 to 10,000 barrels is what we're looking at.
I mean, that's not bad.
For 8 months old brewery, that's under 30 barrels. That's pretty good, actually.
I mean,
yeah, it's been a lot of growth. I plan on sleeping in 2018.
You know, especially considering like a brewery like the Brewery, they brew an insanely small amount of beer on an annual basis. So I mean, I want to say it's either 10,000 or 30,000. It's one of the two. I can't remember what in the interview. It's one of those two numbers. But I remember them telling us, you know, what they did, what they did last year, and I was like, seriously, like that small amount, but yet your beers are sought after, you know, across the country. So I mean, who knows? Maybe you know, you guys keep putting grapes and saisons, y'all might be there as well, man.
Yeah, you never know. I know the brewery. I've had their beer before. I've got a friend's uncle who's good friends with the Roux family, but they put out a lot of specialty beer, and in fact, that's pretty much all they put out. So putting out 20, 30,000 barrels of specialty beer is a feat to be able to do that when they're not pilsners or pale ales. It's not a lot of beer in terms of things, but I think even breweries. Heck, even like New Belgium, I don't even know if they're putting out 30,000 barrels of all their specialty beers.
But they do all big bottles, so that helps. I mean, you're doing canning and making 6-pack. You need to make much more beer to get that 6-pack coming out. So
Yep.
when you do a bomber, you can get a larger distribution when you only do big bottles.
Ilan, you guys do 4-packs, right?
We do, yep, 16-ounce 4-packs.
Okay.
And we also do 750 bottles. We've only done one before. We did it on our anniversary, our Gravity Well Imperial Stout. But this year we're doing quite a few more 750s. We've got a Door County Cherry version of the Saison in July. We've got some sours that we're diving into this year. And then, of course, the Imperial Stout, which we'll be doing in a few different barrels.
Okay.
I think a lot of people don't understand that on the first couple years on the brewery, people have a lot of romantic ideas of businessmen, but there's a lot of the owner do a lot of keg washing and sweeping the floor, right? It's not an easy business to start it.
Yeah, you have to keep in mind that you need to be willing to do anything. So before we opened, I was painting the walls because it was cheaper. I must have put about 200 gallons of paint on the building, and then realized that there's this thing called a paint gun that makes it a lot easier. So that helped out quite a bit. But yeah, it's walking into it with the mentality of doing whatever you need to do to make it happen.
So what's up, you know, in the future for you guys? You guys got any releases that you're coming out here with shortly that you want to talk about?
What we've got coming up, we actually just came out with it late last week, Saturday. We came out with our Dank Bot Ipa, and this is a beer where it was our hoppiest that we've ever made. And the little folklore behind this one is a robot that malfunctions and accidentally throws in too many hops to the beer. But it was, I think the term dank was the perfect term for this beer because it gave you a lot of like robust citrus and then earthy, dank, spicy overtones. And then it came in at 91 IBUs, so it was, and it's on the bitter side. I prefer most of my IPAs to be kind of let the malt hide in the background and then let the hops be the hero. Mm-hmm. So this is definitely a hop-forward beer.
Can you talk to the hops that are in it, or is that?
No, I can. I let people know the hops that are in it. For most of our beers, we bitter with Warrior. It's kind of a nice, clean, slightly citrusy hop. And then we throw in Cascade, Amarillo, Citra, and Columbus. So we'll finish with the with the Columbus, which gives that nice danky quality, at least when it's paired with things like Amarillo, Citra, and Cascade.
Do you guys filter your beer, or
We do not.
Okay.
No, we're totally unpasteurized, unfiltered. It takes a little bit longer, and it means you also have a slightly shorter shelf life. But I firmly believe that unfiltered beer, you get a little bit more flavor and a little bit more body out of. Mm-hmm. So we decided to invest a little bit more into some tanks, and there's a little bit of waste when it comes to the brewing process. But we still get clear beer, and there's our saison. But I suppose you can argue whether a saison's supposed to be clear or not. But
yeah,
you can still get clear beer, but it just takes a little bit longer.
I don't think saison should be filtered at all.
Yeah, it's like filtering a wheat beer. You're not supposed to do that.
Yeah. So that was the last Saturday, and then you guys just canned today. I'm assuming it was this one. Is this one on your website? The one that you canned just today? I think you said earlier.
That would be the Phantom Taxi Double IPA.
Okay.
Yeah. So we canned that one today. That's going to be released. I want to say next week. Yeah, that's going to be released next week. So that's our first seasonal can that we've ever released here. And you may notice a little bit of a difference for the way that looks versus the year-rounds. So we have kind of a dark background and the light color on the year-round cans. And what we do is we flip it for all the seasonals.
Okay. And
we did a meager 480 cases of the Phantom Taxi, and they all pre-sold before we hit market. So
nice.
Liquor stores can't get it anymore right now.
So, and this one has notes of grapefruit and mango. So, did you? I'm assuming maybe you got a little bit of maybe some Citra in there, or
there is some Citra in there.
Okay. And mango, did you go New Zealand on us?
This wasn't New Zealand. This was I found a good way. We've got a certain cascade that we use that gives a nice grapefruit, but when you kick up the Citra enough, it seems to blend pretty well with this cascade, where you get that kind of sweeter tropical note, which does come off a little bit more like mangoes. There's some ways that I've used Citra before where you can get more kind of citrusy orange-like characters, but if you put them in enough in the flavor additions, you can get some mango too.
Okay. So did you use Cascade or Amarillo for your yuzu? Because the yuzu is very citric.
Yes. So what was your question again?
Did you use Cascade or Amarillo for that as well?
For the yuzu, the hell chicken, yeah, we did use Cascade and Amarillo, but no Citra. The yuzu fruit itself really pokes itself through in the beer, and in fact, it almost masks itself as hop-like character because of the kind of the robust, pithy grapefruit character you get, and it even has a little bit of bitterness to it, which almost tastes like hops. So the yuzu blends really well with other citrus hops.
And before we get out of here, I want to talk about this year is going to be your first time at Savor, right? What are you guys going to be pouring at Savor?
So we've got the two beers we're pouring at Savor that are just at our table are going to be the Hell Chicken Pale Ale with the yuzu fruit, and then the Sunken City Saison that we've got the soft blanc wine grapes in. But we also were chosen to do one of the salons where you get to show off a specialty beer that you're not pouring. So we're part of the dessert salon, and we're bringing our Doe Eyes, which is our saison that we blend with Door County cherries, and we add pound per pint.
So I know a guy who's gonna be at Savor.
All right.
You know, he may want to taste this beer. I'm just saying.
Okay. You talk about me. You talk about me, right?
I'm saying it sounds a saison with cherries in it, man. Come on, it's nothing can be wrong there.
No, this is one of those dangerous beers because it still clocks in at 7.5%, but it's like eating cherry pie. It's nice tart cherries, so it's not terribly sweet. It's a really fun beer to drink.
And effervescent, as you said in your description on the website.
Oh yes.
So yeah, that sounds like a summertime sleeper right there.
I think so. I think that's going to be the beer we're going to have to taste. I'll bring a couple extra bottles.
Oh, well, I will find you.
And we hope, yeah, hopefully you're going to have some time for us as well as we're broadcasting today.
I think it'd be great if you let me know what times you're looking at. I'd love to share a beer with you guys.
So, Ilan, do you have any local festivals coming up you want to talk about real quick that you might be pouring at, or festivals that are maybe in the next month or so? I mean, you guys starting to get some good weather.
Yeah, there's festivals all the time. The next month we're going to be at the Rochester Craft Beer Expo down in Rochester, Minnesota. Otherwise, some of the bigger fests that are coming up, not necessarily in the next month, but we've got our Pride Dabbler, which is during Twin Cities Pride Week. And that's going to be in June. And that one it's interesting this year because every brewery picks a gay celebrity. And we chose Ellen DeGeneres. And I actually just reached out to her yesterday to see if she wants to collaborate on the beer. So hopefully she's watching the show and gets the message. Yeah. But I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Tell her Craft Beer Nation, just you can name drop us. I'm sure she'll recognize who we are. And
I will.
She is awesome.
Well, Ilan, man, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you. Like I said, initially I thought I had never had any of your beers, but then I realized I have had one, and it's a style that's not in my lane, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. And so we appreciate you spending time with us. Hopefully, I'm looking forward to Savor, to getting to try some more of your beer. And yeah, we wish you guys nothing but the best. You're still young, you're passionate about it, and your philosophy about bringing the world to your brewery and just kind of not having a flagship, it just kind of making it your mantra to be crazy. I love that, being adventurous and just seeing what happens, but being calculated at the same time. So cheers to you guys, and we wish you nothing but the best. Thank you for your time tonight.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. I really enjoyed the time.
Cool. So guys and gals, thank you for joining us tonight. I'm going to stall a little bit while I try to find out who our guest next week is going to be. Oh, next week we're going to have our second interview ever with Founders Brewing Company. The first time we interviewed Founders, we had a chance to speak with Dave Engbers, and this time we're going to speak with Jeremy Kosmicki, who's the head brewer. So that should be a lot of fun.
My idol.
Gil's favorite brewery, Gil's idol. So be sure to join us next week for Founders, and until then, find some great friends, find some great beer, and mind those P's and Q's.